Why is Samsung trending? There are $16.5 billion why.
All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about a massive shift happening at the absolute heart of the tech world. It's a story about AI, semiconductors, and a partnership that's literally drawing the map for the next decade. And believe it or not, it all boils down to two huge numbers. First up, there's this one. Samsung is on a path to a record-breaking quarterly profit. We're talking a projected $14 billion for the fourth quarter of 2025. This number, this tells you everything you need to know about their incredible success right here, right now. But hold on, because that massive profit is almost overshadowed by this second number. This is the forward-looking one, a deal that changes the entire game, a multi-year partnership with Tesla, kicking off at $16.5 billion. It's when you put these two numbers together that you realize a seismic shift is happening. Okay, so let's start with that first number. We're going to unpack the current AI gold rush and see what exactly is fueling Samsung's insane success. And it's a really good question, right? I mean, you look around, the world economy is all over the place. So what on earth could be driving this kind of historic financial performance? Well, the answer is a very, very specific piece of hardware. These profits, they're all being driven by a crazy surging demand for something called high bandwidth memory, or HBM for short. Now, this is not the memory that's in your laptop. It's a completely different beast, an architecture built from the ground up for the unique hunger of AI systems. In this slide, it's the perfect way to picture the difference. Think of the standard memory in most computers as a long, single-story building. HBM, on the other hand, stacks the chips vertically. It's like building a skyscraper of data. You get way more bandwidth, which is absolutely essential for the kind of parallel processing that big AI models need to work. And of course, all that complexity, it means much, much higher profit margins. So here's the real key. You can basically look at Samsung's profit report as the scoreboard for the entire global AI race. Every time a big company fires up a new AI data center, they create this bottomless appetite for HBM, and that hunger translates directly into Samsung's bank account. And all that cash, all that stability, well, it gives Samsung the firepower and the confidence to make its next massive move. And that brings us to part two, this incredible decade-long alliance with Tesla. You know, the first thing that just jumps off the page here is the timeline, the sheer length of this deal. This isn't just a simple order for a year or two, no way. Tesla has locked in a deep strategic relationship with Samsung that goes all the way to 2033. A whole decade. That's long enough to cover multiple generations of Tesla's most important products. So what's Samsung on the hook for? Well, they're tasked with supplying the custom-designed brains for Tesla's next-gen full self-driving systems, and, this is huge, for their robotics division, including the Optimus robot. We're talking about securing the silicon for Tesla's entire autonomous future, the whole shebang. And get this, reports say that Elon Musk himself was right in the middle of the negotiations. Now, that tells you everything. When a CEO gets that deep in the weeds on a supply deal, you know it's not just about haggling over the price. This was about locking down a critical, custom-built supply line and making sure they had strategic control over how it's made. But you might be thinking, wait a minute, a whole decade? Isn't that a massive risk? And you'd be right to ask. This whole deal is a perfect example of a calculated strategic trade-off. Sure, Tesla is giving up some flexibility to switch things up down the road, but what they gain in return is almost priceless. Existential security of supply, in a world where getting your hands on advanced chips is getting harder and harder. Okay, now for the really juicy part, the engine room of this whole deal, because this is where we get into the nuts and bolts, and, more importantly, the geopolitics of where all this stuff is actually being made. So the specific chips are these custom AI6 processors. We're talking silicon designed for that split-second low-latency decision-making you need for autonomous systems. And they're going to be produced right here in the US at Samsung's gigantic new plant down in Texas. And this is the detail that changes the entire game. The sources are highlighting that this cutting-edge US factory will be, at least at first, dedicated to manufacturing for one single client, Tesla. Think about that. A dedicated American factory making proprietary AI chips for a major American robotics company. To really get why this is such a brilliant move, you've got to understand Samsung's two different businesses. Think of it like this. Their HBM memory business, that's them baking and selling their own incredible specialized cakes. But their foundry business, that's something else entirely. That's them running a super advanced kitchen for hire, where companies like Tesla can bring their own secret recipes, their custom chip designs, to get made at a massive scale. So by building this dedicated kitchen for Tesla in Texas, Samsung is basically throwing down the gauntlet and taking a direct shot at the king of the hill, TSMC. While TSMC has to juggle dozens of big clients, Samsung can now go to a company like Tesla and offer something its rivals can't, a secure, dedicated, American-made manufacturing line. That's a powerful sales pitch. So let's pull all of this together now and look at the bigger picture. What are the long-term, rule-changing implications of this whole alliance for the future? Remember that $16.5 billion number we started with? Well, it turns out that's just the down payment. The sources are pretty clear that's just a guaranteed minimum. As full self-driving rolls out across millions of cars and the Optimus robot goes into mass production, this partnership could easily blow past $50 billion. Easily. Alright, so if you remember 3 things from all this, make it these. First, Samsung is cashing in big time on the current AI training boom, all thanks to HBM. Second, this Tesla deal isn't just a sale. It's a deep, decade-long alliance to secure the brains for Tesla's entire autonomous future. And third, that dedicated factory in Texas, it's a brilliant competitive move that uses supply chain fears to challenge the top dog, TSMC. And that leaves us with one last kinda mind-bending thought to chew on. If the biggest companies now need their own dedicated proprietary factories just to make the custom AI brain for their products, does that mean the old supplier model is broken? You know, the one where parts were standard and factories were shared. If the AI brain of your car or your robot requires a factory built just for it, that could fundamentally rewrite the rules for all of manufacturing.